Okay, folks, good morning. Oh, we're zoomed way the heck in. We are zoomed way the heck in. Let's see. Let's adjust that. There we go. Okay. See if we could kind of a quick recap of where we're at on the whole Sherman scenario. I don't remember where I left off last painting session, but we got we're working on Shermans, and I got one done yesterday. And of course, I didn't film yesterday because the power was kind of glitchy. I'm over here in Florida, and honestly, it's been kind of weird because we didn't even get a drop of rain, and we did get some gusts, but I lost power for about 1 hour, which was infinitely less than I was going to, but we really were on the fringes of the storm. So I decided just not to film because it'd be annoying to get everybody here, and then as soon as the power would glitch, I would lose everybody. I can't just hold off. It's weird. You would think I'd just be, well, it'll just reconnect when I'm back on. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately. But here is the first Sherman. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with the results. As a matter of fact, the serial number that I had to paint on there, which I was actually a little concerned about, just because I wanted to look somewhat even. I painted that with the power off. So that was during the hour that the power went off. So we got this thing finished, and that's all the weathering I'm going to do at this point. I can always come back and do other weathering. I'm not doing paint chipping. Paint chipping and my miniature style are not compatible. You start doing stuff like that, and it's a never ending, drawing bolts, and you're never going to finish. So this is what somebody's recommend. Welcome, Dirk. This is somebody's recommendation to have a YouTube channel, and what colors they used, how to paint it, and I'm actually pretty happy with the results. Now, just to compare to the Russian color, let's get a couple Russian vehicles. This is the Russian green. Which the colors actually look different in real life, as always. Hey, Jules. Today you're working on the last two elements of your early Libyan DBA army with full options. Cock socks all around. It's the first thing I think of with early Libyans. I actually was thinking about doing that army about a year ago, but just for that purpose, just for the humor factor. And they're quite different in color. The color of this isn't accurate because here in the photo, in the video, it almost looks like a British racing green, and it doesn't really look like that. So you get a little difference. But if you're on Facebook, you already saw what this thing looked like. But it almost looks better on the video than it does in real life. It's got a lot of depth. But anyhow, they always alter a little bit. I decided not to give it a nickname yet. I don't know what it's going to be. So, but anyhow, maybe it'll have to prove itself in battle and get a nickname then. We can always add it afterwards. But really the only thing I'm unhappy with it at this point was the decals. You can still see them. They're squares. You can see them on there. They didn't disappear. And I have a feeling they're just really thick. And I added multiple coats of Microsol. I'm just going to deal with it. You know, it is a gaming figure. We're not going to enter IPMS stuff. And it looks a lot better than most things I see on a tabletop. And I think it works good with the look of the figures. And I went ahead and rebased this BAR gunner for scale in the new style. The guys for option C have tunics. Oh, those guys are no fun. No, it's one of those Libyan armies changed quite a bit what it looked like. A lot. From 2.2. Anyhow. So there it is. Well, instead of going and paying a bad guy tank, we're going to continue on the Sherman thing. And let's get these Russians out of here. And I'll show you where we're at on the next couple of tanks. We have a Corgi. Let's see if we can zoom this out. You're not going to be able to see it because of the contrast here. We have a Corgi die-cast M4A3. And it's like 1/76 scale. So it's slightly smaller. I don't care. I don't have a problem with that. If I was going to buy everything from scratch, I'd buy a 1/72. Well, I don't mind mixing the two. I already have them. And the other one I have is this M4A1 cast hull. That's also die cast by Umarex, I believe is what it's called. And this is actually one that came with this ridiculous thing on the front called a mine roller. That's why there's two holes here in the front. And I don't think I'm going to patch them in. I don't think I am. Because I want the option, yeah, and they go in, they tie in through here, and they tie in through here. Yeah, and they actually, I'm trying to figure out how this thing attaches. Oh, is it upside down? Is that what the deal is? Okay, it's upside down. That's what the deal is. So this thing attaches like this. Something like that. And actually I think I am going to patch the holes because I want to make it so that I can attach this as a separate piece if I need some kind of scenario as a welcome Wolfman. If I needed a scenario with a mine roller, which I don't see one, but I'm not going to throw this away. I don't want to make this the default tank. I don't know if I actually have any stuff to fill that in right now. So we're just going to proceed. You can always fill that in afterwards. But I don't want to make it a default tank all the time. And I was also missing a hatch. At some point, it came with some goofy ass looking dude, which was a bitch to take off. So the first problem I ran into this is there's screws in the bottom. So I'm like, great, I don't have to drill this thing out. The problem is they're seized. I can't undo them. So I couldn't take the turret off for this one, which is okay. And I couldn't get this figure, so I had to pry him with it took a while to work this guy out. But he was laying in here like so. And we're getting rid of his goofy ass. I don't like them. And I've got figures that are awesome. They're by War Games Foundry. So he's the guy that's going to go in there. But this hatch piece was missing at some point. I don't know what happened to it. Couldn't find it. So we made another one out of styrene. It's not perfect. It doesn't have a little detail here, but it'll do. I don't mind showing people mistakes and problems with models. I think it's, I think it's more important to show folks that you could get through adversity when you're working on some of this stuff instead of just giving up. Instead of like, oh, there's a problem with this, let me go in a different direction. And then you get nothing done. And then chaos wins. Okay, so let's M4A3, and of course we glued some spare thingies here. I decided not to put logs on either one of these two. I wanted this one kind of fresh from the factory. Well, it's still going to get weathered, but I'm not weathering them that heavily. So we're going to do this one, start to finish. Now that I know how to do this, now that I've done it once, and I'm happy with the results, and this one as well. So both of these have been spray painted. This was spray painted probably 20 years ago. This one I just did yesterday. We're going to go ahead and add some of that the black primer from Vallejo and cover that up. Now, this one actually has separate tracks that come off, so I went ahead and pulled them off. Figured it's going to be easier to paint the other stuff underneath. All right, let's get this going. And I like the idea of working on multiple vehicles because I have to do some kind of a stage where I have to wait for something to dry, I'm not just not doing anything. I am working on the other vehicle. So that's what we'll do. I bought the early Libyans with a 25 figure army. And this Ahoy, one more bin. All of the famous Willy Warmers. Now they're 99 infantry, 4 mounted, and 2 chariots. And it's a lot more competitive army. It's a lot better now. No doubt about it. Willy Warmers. Every time I see those guys, I think of that band, Red Hot Chili Peppers. They made some kind of a picture in the either late 80s or early 90s. I want to say it's the early 90s where they're all like standing naked. And all they got is the things on their sock. Could never be in a band. I have too much shame. That's what I think of. Red Hot Chili Peppers. Change your name to the Willy Warmers. All right. Let's see what we got here. Let's not use this one. Geez, let's not use that one either. Boy, this stuff is brutal on brushes. It's hard to get it all out. I guess I probably could try. I just would rather not do that right this second. Let's do something else. People always joke that there's nothing worse than watching paint dry. There is. It's watching someone take paint out of a paintbrush. That's worse. We're going to use this one. The chili peppers were crazy. Yeah. Musicians have always been over the top. The only thing is, when I was a kid, I didn't care. They're crazy people that do stuff like that. I don't need to emulate them. I don't need to look like them. All right. And that's the thing about spray paint that I'm not a huge fan of is, no matter how good a job you do, you're going to have to go back and touch things up. And if you spray too thick, then you're going to end up going over details with too much paint, and it's going to look all goopy and stuff. So I got an idea of what colors to use from a guy on YouTube. But as always, I'm an experienced painter. I just hadn't done this in a while. I didn't want to get done with it and not be happy with the color result. But there's some things that I changed. I didn't apply the first color evenly. I kind of did like a wet dry brush. So I left black in some places that were kind of like deep recesses. Because I'm not going to airbrush. I'm not going to do any of this stuff with an airbrush. I don't want to go and have to do in the garage and do that there. When I used to work at a hobby store, there was an airbrush that we used, and even with a good airbrush, they're so damn finicky, and I don't like to prime, I don't like to clean off models, and I really don't like is cleaning an airbrush. Or actually, to clean the airbrush isn't a problem that much. It's why did it stop working? Let me finish what it is, So have to stop working, stop what you're doing, and it's just a big old mess. That, and I got to spend the money to do it. Double whammy. If I'm gonna spend the money to do it, it should work every time. So I decided not to get into that. And honestly, I'm really happy with how mine turned out. I did not want a modulation or zenithal or all those big words that people use now that they just make the vehicle look better than a real vehicle. And I just don't think that it goes with the look I want. It doesn't mean that other people that do it that way, their stuff doesn't look good. It looks great. I just don't like how it looks next to the figures. Pio's subtle color variety can be a bit confusing. Yeah. Yeah, there's a guy that does a lot of this scale stuff, and he's got his stuff on YouTube, and he's from Portugal, and he does a couple different variations. A lot of his American vehicles are almost in a green, and it looks good. I just had to make a decision how I was going to go with it, so I just opted to not go with the green one. I'm just doing the olive drab one. Okay. So I think that's probably okay. All right. I got to get rid of this coffee cup from yesterday. We're going to end up with something that's not there. Okay, the vehicles take up a hell of a lot more real estate than when you're working on figures. I got stuff everywhere here. Oh, we undid that stug the other day. I'm sorry, stug. And glued it back together. Man, this thing's heavy. You drop this on your foot, you're gonna wish you hadn't done that. But it's very rough. You can see it's missing part of the track and stuff, so we're gonna end up doing some of the goop from the. Yeah, it's pretty rough, but it's gonna work. It's gonna look just fine when we're done with it. All right. I think we're gonna start with this one because it's a little drier. The only one this one has is I couldn't drill. This is die cast. I couldn't drill the thing out to put the antenna, so we may just epoxy an antenna on there, or just forego it. It's not that big a deal for me. They are wargaming models, first and foremost. Let me get an extra shim, because we are using this one as the. This is going to be the base for one of them. You get an extra shim to use for this. I don't need to use a wet palette for this. Okay, so we're going to grab some olive drab, which is mysteriously called brown violet. I believe it's this one. You can't go by the color. You can't use this one. It's called olive drab. This is good for other stuff. But we're going to start throwing things. Is it this one? No. Is it this one? No. All right. No. It fell down here. Brown violet. And this is the real time-saving part of why I like this method, is that normally what I would do is I'd mix black in with this and then do a dark shade, paint the whole thing in that, and then start working my way up. And I did forego that completely. We need this on something. I guess we can put it on a helping hands when we go to paint it. All right, I gotta get rid of some of this stuff. I am like completely encroached with things that are all vying for my attention. And it's going to be a long time before we use some of these things. Let's put this here. And what is that? 887 brown violet or 887 USA olive drab? 887 brown violet. They should be the same color. That's what the 887 part is. But the problem with Vallejo is they marketed a lot of things for. These are Flames of War colors, and these are colors for who knows. I don't know if they got bolt action colors, but they've got ones that they've put in cahoots with other companies, and so that's really confusing. And it's the same thing with MIG and ammo. They've done the same mess. And hopefully they match up. But yeah, it's really confusing. It's really, really confusing. So, my dude, it's 5 a.m. What are you even doing? Mannschaft von Arklach. Sounds like a name for a nemesis in a steampunk game. This is 5 a.m. is when I normally wake up. Brown violet has more brown. Yeah. Yeah, I wake up at 5 a.m. I think the only day I didn't wake up at 5 a.m. in recent memory was yesterday. Because I thought we were going to be under a storm, and we really weren't. I've been waking up at 5 a.m. for how many years has it been? 15? I did 4 a.m. a little earlier than that. You wake up at this time, you don't get interrupted by other folks that you share your habitation with. All right, you're just being a little fill in the blank. Foundation white changing to cold white. Yeah. And they have a lot of sets, and then they have the air colors. I'm not a fan of things that are like formulated for airbrush, because it's just a way for them to like use less pigment. It's just a watered down paint, you know. I know you can paint with it, but you're getting less paint. I thin things down anyways. Well, I won't in this case, but this is the exception to the rule. All right, now I gotta find where. I don't remember which one. It went really well last time. I think we just used a traditional brush, which is kind of a pain in the ass because these for some reason are like really, really long. So you're a slave in Amazon warehouse all night. By the way, 887 Brown Violet is sold out everywhere. They didn't have it at Hobby Lobby. Amazon warehouse. I love Amazon. I don't ever talk trash about Amazon. I mean, yes, I like mom and pop stores, but if you can't go to a mom and pop store, I don't mind going to Amazon. I hate Walmart. Amazon people deliver stuff. It arrives frequently a day quicker than they say they're going to. The person that delivers it is happy. You know, they make UPS look like they do a shitty job, and UPS kicks ass. So I have no problem with Amazon. Keep working there, my friend. Walmart's the one I wish could just go under. Actually, that's not true, because that's how you run into problems, not having competition. Dude, I spend a good chunk of my check Amazon every week. Yep. Well, you know, what happened is you go to a store to find something and they didn't have it. And then the person, this new age people, here I go sound like an old person. I'm not an old person. I just remember how things used to be. And they changed for no good reason. We shouldn't have won the Cold War. Maybe we didn't win. All right, here we go. We're just going to, the instructions say to put this overall. So if it gets everywhere, cool. If it doesn't, also cool. You go to a store and they wouldn't have something, and you couldn't find somebody to help you, and then they're too busy on their phones to help you. It's okay, so you screw around on your phone for a while, it's fine. But when a customer shows up, step up to the plate, you know. I've worked in retail before. Retail's not a bad job. I think the food service is a bad job. But anyhow, they don't know where anything is. They don't want to help you. They don't want to be bothered. So it's like, why am I spending all this fuel running around town just to not find this thing, to order it on Amazon, when I could just order on Amazon? So I can't remember the last time I went to a store and bought something that wasn't groceries. You know? So I got no problem with Amazon. So I don't try to get everything in there. I mean, if it leaves some black showing, perfect. That's just a little bit extra highlight that it has. And it doesn't bother me any. And even with these shortcuts, it still took me, I want to say 6 hours painting that tank. But I'm slow. I'm real slow. And it doesn't bother me. Because I've seen paint guides, how to paint tanks, and they're like 74 steps. So that guy's even slower. So here, if we avoid some of this, it's even better. So these are painted with dry brush for the most part. At the end, I do go in and force, what I like to call force some shadows. I actually paint some highlights that I want them in a specific place. And actually, an interesting thing will be here is this will be the first vehicle that I have painted after one's finished, and we can compare what the color, how the color of this olive drab changed with the stuff that we did on top of it. Good health care, making me want to do some World War II kits. Sorry. The Stug, now this, maybe the Rubicon one. Things used to be good. Not using the wet palette. Not for this. No. I would end up using half the thing, and that'd just be wasteful. No, not for this. And we don't need to paint that box. The Arsenal of Democracy, Detroit. Most of these were made by Chrysler. I did a little bit of research and finding the serial numbers. You know, you learn stuff along the way. You look for A and you find out about B, so that's pretty cool. And I started to do the Shermans because it's real easy to get. I got tons of German tanks to do, tons. I don't want to start with them. Everybody starts with them. They're cool, but it's easy to make those tanks look cool. I think it's a little bit more challenging to make the Russians and the American tanks look cool. So we're going to start with them. We're going to give them some excitement factor, make them look different. You know, this is a toy. You have the machine gun that is just molded into the side there. It doesn't bother me. I don't need to replace that. You know, this other tank that I finished, it didn't have a ball mount for the machine gun. You got to fix that. You know, that's pretty distinctive. It's easy to do. Okay, as you can see, it's not totally everywhere. And I'm fine with that because that's an area that's going to be dark anyways and stuff. So this is pretty much the first coat on this. We've got to do the turret as well, but let's compare the hull color and see how different it is. Not that big of a deal. This does have an Agrax Earthshade wash on it, which I followed because the person recommended to do that. It added some red to it. I'm tempted to do gnome oil on it, but you could almost skip that step. I don't see that it does that much of a difference. All right, helping hands time when we're done with this. Right. This didn't have a machine gun, so we drilled it out, put a piece of sprue in there for the machine gun. Little things you can do to add interest. Many of these didn't come with a 50 caliber machine gun. Not all tanks had a 50 caliber machine gun. Go look at pictures, you'll see that they all didn't. If you use a 50 caliber machine gun, you got to become crew exposed. Not that good an idea. If you're close enough to fire a 50 cal at somebody, they can shoot back. Infantry fire, so I don't know if I'd make a habit of exposing myself all the time. And really, a 50 cal isn't that much more useful than a 30 against infantry, unless they're in hard cover. You know, if they're like in a wooden building or something like that, you send a 50 down range, and that just punches through the building. .30s. If you're trying to kill individual soldiers, 30 calibers. You got a lot more 30 caliber ammo too in the tank, and you don't have to expose yourself. Got to get elevated in the face real quick and then come back and model with you. Building a company of GHQ 6mm Panther A's. Company. That's like 13, right? Remember when they came with those company packs for, forget what they were called. GHQ had those special combat commands, I think is what they were called. I wish the infantry was more fun to do in that scale, but that's the scale I started with. Back in 88, 89, something like that. Good. Well, I'm glad there's some people that aren't working today to keep me company. Like I said, I could have gone online yesterday, but I didn't want to get everybody here like now, and then we get a power glitch, and everybody leaves, and everybody thinks I'm done for the day, but I come back on, then nobody shows up. I don't want to be a tease, and I was out of my hands yesterday with the storm. Let's just leave this open. Let's risk temptation. Come on. There we go. Let's risk this temptation here. All right, we're going to put that somewhere I can't reach. Let's put my finished figure nowhere near that. Oh, I'm not used to this making a mess crap. I use such little paint. When you're doing vehicles, you use a lot more paint. There we go. So we got 2 of these die-cast ones. I'm probably just going to knock all the Shermans out, to be honest with you. Then move on to other stuff. Do all the American vehicles. And I'm not, if you know me, I'm not an American. I got to do the American stuff so people could understand the game. I rarely play Americans. I'm already American, and You can't do any funny accents when you're playing American, so. Or you can, but they're not as much fun. We played a Franco-Prussian War over last weekend. We had a fun time making all these fake French accents. Mitch and I, it was fun. Okay, I think we're done with that. So let's put this guy on the helping hands. All right. We don't have that problem with this other one because the turret is attached. It kind of looks to a glossy finish. You can get some coffee. The mounted 50 was supposed to be anti-aircraft, you believe. Well, so it was rarely used for that. That's kind of like the surface-to-air vehicles that they had in the Gulf War. Pretty much useless if the enemy doesn't have the... You know, if you're using an anti-aircraft weapon on a U.S. vehicle, then the Air Force isn't doing their job. If you're using that 50, the flyboys are screwing around. I'm gonna try to put antennas on the vehicles like this. The studs, you know, it's easy to just add some sprue to it. It's not a big deal. This is actually a really well-detailed vehicle for a toy. This thing's actually pretty nice. It even has bolts on the mantlet and stuff like that. And I already have these vehicles. You know, if I was going to buy this stuff, like, hey, I need to get some American tanks, I'd go a different route. But I already had these, and then of course I picked up someone's collection over last weekend, and there were some Shermans in there. But they're pre-painted Shermans. We're going to repaint them. But we'll do those last because I don't want to screw them up, you know. I guarantee if I do them last, I won't screw them up and I'll be happy with how they turn out. So I didn't want to start with that. I wanted to start with the stuff that was less of an issue. Kevin, you wake up early, or you've been pulling an all-nighter. You're at the end of your all-nighter. I was going to get on and do some online gaming last night, and I'm about 9:30, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go to bed early. Because I'm still going to wake up at 5. I got to find out if they painted the 50. I hope not. I don't like machine guns painted. And I got to be careful. I had to remanufacture one of these hatches. And even though I did epoxy it in, what color is inside of an American vehicle? I know the German one, the Russian ones are white. The German ones are like a buff color. So I'm going to have to paint the inside of the hatch that color. You sleep on and off. Okay. Well, I'm glad you showed up. Unusual to be on at this time, but not working today. It really is TGIF. Coffee time. I still have a water here. So even with doing so-called shortcuts, it still takes a while to get this stuff done. That's okay. The main thing is just be happy with how it turns out. Not like, man, I really wish I would have taken my time so I don't hate what I just did. Oh, we're going to scoop all that goodness out of there. Let's use a brush we don't love anymore. Might have to dig deep for that. This thing's a POS. Point of sale. Somebody pointed out the other day. Oh, a point of sale. Yes, that's exactly what I meant. That's exactly what I meant. We'll leave this thing out. We're not going to bother cleaning it because we're going to use this again. Inside of aircraft was chromatic green. Yeah, it's an ugly color too. Maybe the same for tanks. I'll have to look it up. It's a ways away before I get to that. But yeah, that U.S. aircraft color is ugly. God, that's ugly on the inside. I'd forgotten about that. Like you'll have this Navy aircraft, like you'll have this blue plane, and the inside is just like a lime green. It's kind of like this. It's kind of like that. It doesn't look as bright as it does on your screen, but it's this shade of green, golden olive. Just looks weird, but you gotta paint things the color that they were, I guess. We're gonna put a round star on the front of this one. Mix it up a little bit. I only have one of these. I have two of these die-cast ones that are the same. One of these, two of these, and I have another Plastic Soldier Company one like the first one I did, but I'm missing a mantlet. I don't know what the hell happened to it. We're gonna have to deal with that by buying a British vehicle the British vehicle set of the M4A2s comes with a 76 millimeter gun turret and a 75 for each vehicle. So we're gonna cannibalize ones from the. We're gonna make one of those tanks a 76, and that way we'll have an extra 75 turret and take the mantlet off of it. We already drilled this one for the antenna. You could probably get away with not doing the Agrax Earth Shade, but we will, just for consistency. Alright, let's rinse this thing. We don't want this one to go to shit. Should have a color picture of this thing with a hatch open. Whether it does or doesn't. Almost looks like it's the same color. Actually not a super attractive vehicle if you ask me. But that's not really important now, is it? Good morning, Mr. Ben. Operating here at your time. Strategist Sex said the interior of Tank Commander Hatch was the same as exterior. To not show when open. That's actually a really good idea, to be honest with you. Okay. Thanks for checking on that, Kevin. That's a really good idea, I think. Actually, the finish on this looks really good. Really happy with that. All right, I'm pretty sure this one's dark enough to go ahead and do Agrax. We're gonna leave this open for now, because the next stage after Agrax involves using that paint. All right, let's find a brush for the Agrax. And this is exactly the same method I did on the first one. Oh, yeah, that's readers. If you use glasses, don't put on readers. You won't be able to see anything worse. All right. Let's use. This should be fine. Ben, you working from home today, or are you retired, or you may be retired. Most of my viewers are older than I am. I hope to get there one day. I think this is the one I do. Like I said, there's lots of different ways you can do this. This just happens to be somebody's suggestion. I don't remember what his name is. He's definitely Australian by his accent. I don't know if he lives in Australia, but... Storm of Steel, I believe, used a similar method, but a little different. His are a little greener. We may do one of those in that color. See how it compares. Probably do it on a half track. Maybe after these two tanks, I'll do a half track next. I just didn't dare yesterday go online. It was just going to be annoying to get everybody here and then leave. And so I did play, what did I play a little bit? War Thunder and World of Tanks. Honestly, I like the War Thunder better. The World of Tanks they redid it. I hadn't played in about a year. Of course, all free. I'm not spending money on something I can play free. Not going to be one of those, well, I'm just going to buy the cool tanks. Well, then you didn't earn them. Then you don't appreciate the shitty ones. You know, if you're not going to play the shitty vehicles, you know, if you're going to buy your vehicles, then you're never going to play the shitty ones. Like, why would you want to? And the cool thing that War Thunder does is when you hit another vehicle, it shows the impact of how it hits and the damage to the crew members. I think that's pretty neat. It's something to do for about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then I'm like, all right, that's enough. Let's go back to painting real stuff. I used to be able to spend a lot more time playing that, but you got nothing to show for it. All right, we done with this booger now? I think so. All right. Let it dry. See if we can put it horizontal. See if we can get away with it. Okay. And helping hands. Retired, I wish. Too young for that. Been off work for a while, dealing with some international inheritance stuff. A lot of long distance phone calls. You can find a way to do that free, right? Call internationally through, I don't know, Skype or something like that. It just seems ridiculous to pay for phone charges these days. Just seems like that was like eons ago when that shit happened. Like, I'm still surprised that they'll do advertising and they'll say, you know, call us on such and such number. It says, text charges apply. Like, who pays for text? I don't know. Maybe somebody out there, but I don't know the last time I paid for a text. Maybe people that don't have plans, or I don't know. I honestly don't know how it works. That's not the part I handle at home. Okay. There we go. All right. Let's move this out of the way. And whatever we did to this one, it should dry. And it'd be on a landline at 33 pence a minute, on hold with a city hall for 10 minutes at a time. Wow, I'm surprised that they were that efficient. Yeah, well, hopefully you only have to do it once. You get this resolved, and you'll never have to call the city again. I can see why people go through a lot of this. I can make my own, but just something that's already pre-done. So we're done with this. We're going to dry brush over it, leaving some of this on. Remember long distance cards you could buy either a bunch of numbers to get the service? Yep. Yep. Remember collect calls? Remember Blockbuster? Please be kind, rewind. Or phone booths? Or checks. I had to write a check. I want to say in the last year, and I hadn't written a check in probably 15 years. Whew. Mind blown. I remember back in the day, there'd be places that wouldn't take credit cards, but they would take checks. I'm like, that's a risk. Okay. I think these two are done. Now they're going to be a similar color to this. Make sure that's completely shut. That'd be a problem. Did Pickup Tank Warfare on sale the other day? No, I didn't. I didn't. I spread myself out too thin. I'll get it next time it comes on sale. I know those things come on sale like every year or something like that. I got stuff I haven't even played. I got the whole Close Combat series, and I got it like 2 years ago. I just now gotten around to playing some of it. Okay, I know this stuff dries pretty quick. Oh, the running gear is not. So yeah, we did the basing on this guy. Brought it up to modern standards. Up from that. Yeah, can't see it where they're at. To just give up. It's in the wrong place. Alright, you move. Alright, let's see if we can. Just for comparison. Maya's front. That's not the Gravitine Tactics, the Maya's thing, is it? Which honestly is a pretty kind of interesting. That's kind of the forgotten period of the Eastern Front is after Kursk. After Kursk, but before Bagration. Is that how you say it? Bagration? Bagration? I don't know. Is it right? It's like a Russian general that has a French last name. Oh, okay. Is that a good game? I've seen the reviews and stuff. Just seems like it'd be very limited when it's just over a small period of time. Let's see, late 43. The Russians have T-34s. Mostly hexagonal turret ones or Chelyabinsk ones, some with the cupola on them, some without. The T-34 85s hadn't come out yet. I think you might get away with doing something like December 43 T-34 85s, where they had the different turret, they had the different housing, almost like a flat front instead of the cusp on the end. It's just like flat with a bolt showing. They didn't make too many of those. It's a different gun. It's a different 85 millimeter gun. But none of those were around in 43. That's why I really wanted to like that game. What is it, Men of Valor or something like that? It was like a demo and it was like a curse scenario. And they give you T-34 85s. I'm like, I'm out. I can't play this. The only vehicles that had 85 millimeter guns at that point was the KV-85s. I think the Su-85s were already out. But the T-34 85s didn't come out until, I want to say some were out in really late 43, but if so, none that wouldn't have winter camo. It's quite good. The scenarios are quite focused, but the teams really delve in detail for them. I think they worked all the available Soviet and German records for the operations. Cool. Yeah, I've seen it. Way back in the day when I had my other computer, they had come out with that. Is it called Combat Mission? Where you'd have like a platoon of tanks and they would be connected by these lines. You could tell when they were connected to each other and you gave them orders. You basically gave everybody orders for like a minute what they would do. And then you hit play and then stuff happened. And you could rewind and like see a shell hit or something like that. And I didn't care for that interaction. I thought it was a little too... It didn't work for me. It didn't work for me. I didn't like that the infantry was... There'd be 3 figures, but it represented like 20 guys or something like that. Lots of people liked those, but they never like appealed to me. That's a good thing about Steam. You get one of those games, and if it sucks, you play it for an hour, and then you return it and get your money back. That's a good system. Okay, this guy dry enough. I know some of this running gear is going to look glossy. It's good enough for me. It's good enough for me. All right, so now we're going to go over this with the dry brush that's not soaking wet. And we're going to dry brush the same color over. I think I want to use something that has a little bit more control. A little bit more control than just a big old slapping stuff down. And we're going to need to get some height advantage over this. All right. Any cool World War II movies you guys seen recently that you recommend? A couple weeks ago, I watched all the Saints and Soldiers. I'd seen the first one way back in the day. It was all right for what it was. It could have been a lot worse. Haha. I do my own stunts. Combat Mission left me disappointed. Okay. So the one you recommended, Tanks Ahoy, I guess I should write down what it is, because it has a very unspecific name. I'm going to write it down. Let's see. Tank Warfare. Ben Wadi. What is that? What is your name a play on? I mean, I guess your last name could be Wadi. They have a bunch of those. They have a bunch of the Tank Warfare modules. Tank Warfare Tunisia 43. Okay. Man, you're going to get me painting vehicles. If I like that, I'm going to start painting vehicles with yellow stars. Which, honestly, I think looks pretty cool. I don't mind the yellow stars. I don't like the Polish vehicles, the German Polish vehicles with the white crosses. It just looks stupid. The yellow stars looks cool. It's what AOL churned out for me as a little lad back in the late 90s. Yeah, that's funny because my brother, who's not a gamer, he's not a war gamer. He was on, I think this picked up some of the track color on the bottom. Let's get rid of this. It's not a huge deal, but it's not what I wanted. He used the same thing. His Xbox handle is what they gave him. Well, at least it doesn't have a number in it. Because I can't stand email addresses and stuff that has a number. Oh, I'm Chad7344. Oh, so what's the 7344? Is that your zip code? No, it's just a random number. I don't like numbers. I don't like numbers. I don't like numbers and handles. It feels good to do World War II stuff again. Didn't early U.S. tanks use yellow stars and stripes around the turret? Yep. Yep. And they use the round things. I think it looks great. And I have some to do. I've got those decals kind of left me wanting, though, with the paper that big. I may cut it down, but I'm not going to try to cut them in a perfect circle. It's just they're wargaming figures. And they look better, in my opinion, than most wargame stuff out there. By a long shot. So, I'm happy with them. We don't have to be super anal with this. The little detail around the hatch turned out nice. It would pop nicely. We'll leave that darkness around there. Because the next step after this is going to be mix some dark sand with this and then dry brush. So we don't need to, there's going to be more dry brush on top of this. I'm pretty happy with that. All right, this thing kind of dry because I'd like the, no, I guess we'll do the dark sand one. I'd like to kind of do them both at the same time, but I don't have a big plan or anything. We're just kind of winging it. That's why I'm like, let me follow somebody's suggestion and modify it from there. Do I know anywhere that sells 172nd or 76 World War I vehicles? I could find tanks, but armored cars and ambulances evade me. Well, the good news is that if they do, they're all made in your country. The land of toys. Check out a company called Early War Miniatures. They make a lot of weird stuff. Early War Miniatures may make stuff like that. I really don't know. It's funny because if I did World War I, I'd do it at the same scale. There's a company out in the UK called Tumbling Dice, and I like their figures. I really like their figures a lot. I just can't be into everything, you know. And the whole reason to do World War I is to do French. That's what I would do. I'd do French and German. And Tumbling Dice, yeah. Early War Miniatures. They picked up a lot of molds from Skytrex. And I just figured with that name, oh, they only do stuff from like 1939 and 40, right? I mean, that's what I would name the company if that's what it was. Let's see. I think they make World War I stuff as well, and they have a lot of things. But fortunately, there's probably a lot of 3D printed stuff too. And man, some of the 3D printed stuff is awesome. And I'm going to get some. I've just got to put a dent on this stuff. I think they make World War One stuff. Let's find out. They do. They do make World War One stuff. Oh shit. Now I'm starting to find out about 20 mil stuff again. I used to know all about it, and then I touched it. Oh yeah. So let's go British Western Front. Let's see what they make for that. Cavalry, tank and accessories, motorcycles. Geez, what the hell does a World War One motorcycle look like? Probably a piece of shit. Well, they make only one kind. That guy looks cool, man. Tanks and accessories. Yeah, World War One tanks are ugly as shit, no matter whose they are. I mean, they make a lot of things. I'd never even heard of a Hornet. British cavalry. What do these guys look like? The war that should never have been fought. Rules we play and recommend. There's a set of rules called Crush the Kaiser. Fun. Fun name. Yeah, check that out. Maybe you'll find something. Maybe you find what you're looking for in there. Early war. I think they now have the old Skytreks. Some of them, yes. Academy models make 1/72nd scale ambulance. You know, 6 months ago, when I'm like, let me see if I can start working on these 72nd scale stuff, right? And I'm like, man, I gotta build all these kits, and now I'm like, man, I want to put them back together. I really enjoyed putting those things together. That was really satisfying. Okay, so this one's done. Well, I just looked for something, so. Did I just make it so this guy is able to be done? Yeah, I think so. See, now we're getting closer to. There's not a whole lot of dry brushing that I did on top of it. This is a really cool looking vehicle. I actually don't like the way the cast hull Shermans looked, but, well, this is the classic, what they look like at Alamein. The whole shape. It's one of those, it's so ugly, it's cute. If I get these knocked out, maybe we'll do a German one next with the Dunkelgelb. That's going to be an uphill climb, but I am certain I can get it where I'm happy with it. Hey, we're just finding stuff out here together. Maybe maybe you'll encounter something that'll help you. So they don't. At least for me, my biggest nemesis is analysis paralysis. Oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. Shit, I don't want to make a mistake. F it, I'll go to something else. And that's how you don't get anything done. And that's like your own worst enemy. Instead of just freaking jump in and paint your way out. I mean, anything that doesn't look right, I can fix, so why don't I just jump in? Let's do this side. These have ugly running gear too, but apparently they were a hell of a lot more reliable than most things. Well, you could just replace this whole unit as one thing. You could just, oh, this is messed up. Take the whole thing on, put a new one back on. If I didn't have so much infantry, I'd buy stuff for the desert. I really like the desert. I like the desert because both sides are really interesting. I mean, everybody likes the Africa Corps, and the desert rats are just as cool. For Early World 1, I like the look of the Great Escape Games 14 rules and 10 mil figures. The Zoll motorcycles, my great-grandfather from the U.S. was a motorcycle dispatch rider scout with Pershing down Arizona when Pancho Villa was fanning around the border. Fanning about. We have lots of different names for that. Fanning about. Here in the U.S. Fiddle fucking around. I was listening to a podcast. Those British guys, what's it called? The Yorkshire podcast, and they were talking about rules for that, for that conflict, which honestly I don't know anything about. Obviously, I know who Pancho Villa is, and I know who Pershing was, but the set of rules I think they mentioned called La Cucaracha, and they were talking about. They said. One of the guys had said that, I don't know whether it was in jest, he's like, I don't know what that means. Like, how do you not know what La Cucaracha means? It just seems like such an obvious thing what it is. Maybe you guys don't have those in the old world. Yeah, you do. That's why they're called German ones. The cool thing is that first level of paint that I put down and this wet one, the Agrax, are the only ones that take a little while to dry. The rest of it is such little paint that... Alright, let me stand up so I can see what I'm doing. This is a really cool vehicle. It's got this tow cable. I'm glad I only have one of them because the tow cable looks like it's kind of in an unusual position. And again, you don't want something that's in an unusual position that you have lots of them in the Army. Nice. All right, so let's get some dark sand out. And I have a tank commander to do for this one. The problem with U.S. tank commanders is whoever came up with their gear just was really pretty lame. The U.S. tank, even the British tank guys look cool with the berets and stuff, but the U.S. tankers, they look like they're at a really shitty, on their way to a really shitty football game. Maybe that's another reason the Germans lost the war. They made their tank crews look too cool. Gotta win the war first is most important. Doesn't matter what you look like. Now, the guy was real anal about make sure it's a 50-50 mix. I've mixed a lot of frickin' paint. This is what we're going to go with first. All right. I'm really enjoying this. I'm really enjoying doing this. I don't know if you can tell, but you know, I don't have to make them all look. Oh, still had some of that wet stuff on there. No big deal. It's taking a long time to dry. We'll come back and do that later. That part right there. Oh, missed a part underneath here. No problem. Turret time. I've got European. You said you had an American relative. I've got European relatives, but man, there were. I don't know of any. My dad, when he was around, said that had a great grandfather that was in a colonel in the Spanish army, which would have been before the turn of the century, but that's all I know. I don't think this needs a non-oil wash. I think this is pretty freaking good. I put some epoxy to keep this thing from moving, but it didn't listen. Too many people obsessed with that chipping thing. I think even if it's done right, it doesn't look right. But obviously that's personal taste. Man, it looks freaking awesome. I'm really happy with that. I'm going to do a no-no. Add some water to it to get it to move around a little bit. Yeah, we need a little bit more contrast than that. Way back in the day, there was a friend of mine who had an Apple computer. We're talking about late 80s, maybe early 90s. I don't even remember which friend it was. I was a kid, but he had an Apple computer. And he had this game that I always wanted to play called, it might have just been called Sherman or whatever. So you literally, it almost was kind of like taking that old video game called, I think it was called Combat, where you're like in a futuristic tank. The same thing, you're driving one Sherman tank around. You can only play a Sherman tank. You drive around and you saw a German tank, you have to go take them out. And you just drove around the map and blew things up and stuff. And of course the secret with it is you had to get a side shot on some of these vehicles. And I remember, I think the German tanks, they're always like rotating. So they're always like rotating. So as soon as they spotted you, they'd rotate towards you. So you'd have to like go in, hit them, or back out and go around to another angle and come in. It's really very simple graphics, but you know, that's all you had. So it was good enough. Can't remember the games we'd put up with just because it was the only thing on there. Never had a Commodore 64, always wanted one, didn't get one. But of all the computers I've ever had, this one where I'm using right now was the one I've used the least for gaming. Well, it's still done 100% hobby stuff, but it doesn't mean I don't like games. I actually was looking at that War in the East 2. And I'm like, one of the first games that I had was a Barbarossa type game. And then I played the hell out of it. But honestly, I thought it was too easy. Even at the most difficult setting, I could stomp the crap out of the computer, whether I was playing the Germans or I was playing the Russians. Didn't matter. It's too easy. I mean, it's still a battle, but I could consistently win every time. The war in the East look, I'd be cool, but there'd be nobody to talk about it with. It'd just me playing solo. Like, what's the point in that? Something really neat could happen. I got nobody to tell about it. That's why I want to play solitaire games. There's nobody to experience the pain and suffering, the the life lessons you're learning on this game with no one. I wish I would have taken this hatch off, but I couldn't get those screws to budge at all. And I tried. All right, let's hit this rounded hole here. I mean, these were not bad vehicles by any stretch of the imagination. The problem is that by the time they got in action in Europe, they were fighting super tanks. Basically, the Germans didn't have the whole war. Their 75 millimeter gun could have been a little bit better, but their armor was, in some ways, better than a Mark IV. And they blew up just as much as a Mark IV blew up. They're using gas instead of diesel. But they were good on ergonomics. They were great on being replaced. They weren't the prettiest vehicle in the world, but that doesn't matter. All right, let me put some glasses on and step away from this so I can see consistency-wise. What do I do? Put them over here? No, over here. Miss the days when I didn't have to wear glasses to do this. Let's see what we got. I'm really happy with how these look. Really, really, really happy. Honestly, what took this one so long to do is I had to paint all these little sandbags. I had to paint the equipment, which honestly, makes it kind of come alive. The the serial numbers on the tank didn't come out too bad. I did those where I had no power. And I lost power for about an hour. That's why I did them. Pretty cool stuff. All right, let me get another beverage. I'll be right back. Shermans I picked up. I actually picked up 2 of these. Already pre-built. I want to say these are 176 scale. I want to say they're Altaia. Although I thought Altaia was 1/72. And these have the 76mm gun. Yeah, they're like 1/76 scale. Because these guys, this is slightly smaller. But these come pre-painted like this. They'll be repainted. And maybe able to open the hatches. Certainly looks like they could be openable. Maybe we'll tinker with one of them. Doesn't say who makes it. So that'll give me, I got 2 of these die cast ones, M4A1, which is also die cast. That's 3. I've got this one with a mantlet issue, so I got 4 standard Shermans. And I got these 2 that are 76. And which I'd like a 3-to-1 ratio. Yeah, I got 2 of those. I got this thing, which may be 1/87th. Well, I'm not sure because it's got rubber track. I thought it was a Roco. Maybe it's not a Roco. I guess this is 1/72nd as well. This looks like it's got the 105 in it. And it's the same size as this one. Got the Easy 8 transmission. 50's broke on that. I don't know who makes this one. It might be Fujimi or something like that. Anyways, I'm not opposed to mixing these things up. Doesn't bother me any. No jumbo. Put everybody to sleep. I don't know why anybody would want to do late World War I trenches and stuff. I'm already bored and I haven't even played it. All right, let's take this color again. Let's get some of this out. And do a lighter one. And let's go over some edges. That's what I did on the other one. So we're going to come in here. These hard edges. The problem with using the wet palette for this is it's going to naturally keep the paint wetter than you want it to, and I don't think I want to deal with that. Where's the turret here? Now, what we're going to do is, this brush, nah, I want a better one than this. We're going to pick out some of this detail. Well, we need it to be not as wet. Did I get a... Hold on a second. I'm going to need to... Oh yeah, everything's good here. I'm going to take a little bit of a break. I need to take care of something, and I will be right back. Okay, well it seemed like it worked pretty well. I need to have stuff like that come up so I can do switches between things pretty easy. So I'm using my phone as this camera right here, and I needed to make a phone call on it. And it's pretty easy to disconnect and reconnect. So yeah, no damage here. Glad you're doing okay. Believe it or not, here's the strangest thing. I've lived here since '81, so I kind of know what the track record is here. I didn't think we were going to get any damage. I thought that we were going to have flooding. Would you believe we didn't have a single drop of rain? That is unbelievable. That is absolutely unbelievable. That's actually never happened. I guess it just sucked everything towards it, and we were far enough away that, you know, we didn't get any rain. The big problem here is, this county is run by a bunch of Ewoks that live in the trees and don't want to cut any down, which, I'm not anti-tree. I just don't think they should be over your house. If your tree's not over your house, it can't fall on your house, right? I have trees partially over one part of the house, but the main problem with the Ewoks is all the power lines in our neighborhood are underground, but what feeds it is not. They run across a main road and they're in between trees. So you'll have the power line, you'll have trees that are almost encapsulate the power line. And they don't cut them back. So when the trees start swaying, they knock them down. So we had flicker issues about maybe 6:30 yesterday morning until about 8. We lost power at 8 for about 55 minutes and came back on and didn't miss it ever since. I think there was some internet glitching going on. I don't know that it was related to anything that was happening specifically here, but zero complaints. Zero complaints. It went infinitely better than I could have expected. I just can't believe we didn't get any rain, which I was actually kind of welcoming. We'd get some rain because, but, and then some people got way too much rain. So, that's the advantage of living away from the coast. And when something like this happens, it's a reminder why I'm never going to retire to the beach, because I wouldn't want to deal with that shit right now. I can't imagine older people dealing with those kind of issues. Because I don't care about the boats. Nobody needs a boat to live in, You shouldn't have a boat to begin with. But your house, there's places down in St. Pete Beach Fort Myers Beach. We went to Fort Myers Beach for 4th of July, I think like 5 years in a row. We didn't go last year, and it's unbelievable the stuff that just doesn't exist anymore. Hopefully nobody was staying in there, because I'm never going to live near the beach. Go and do a Airbnb for a week or places we remember well. Look, there was a store that we saw. It was a yellow building that sold like souvenirs. It had always been there. And it was kind of like an outcropping, kind of in a parking lot. And if anybody was left in that building, if they stayed in that building, which I don't know why you would, they're gone. Because there's no merchandise in the building. It's, all that merchandise, guess what it is? It's airborne. It's artillery. And you can't stay in those conditions. But that stuff just changed people's life completely. And it's not cheap to live down there. It's not like, well, they got a really good deal on a beach house. That stuff's expensive, and taxes and boats. The news crews fascinated on taking pictures of boats, and honestly, I'm surprised how any of them are in one piece. But boat schmotes. Well, people's livelihood and stuff. That's rough. All right. Force some of these shadows and put them where we want them. I think some of the most ergonomic vehicles of anybody in World War II are the U.S. vehicles. I can't think of one vehicle that would just be a nightmare to be in. Well, I mean, they're all a nightmare to be in, but maybe a Lee. Maybe a Lee, but a Sherman? I mean, I was just, they've got the little hatch to spit out the spent casings. You know? The light tanks, the Stewarts, I mean, they're a hell of a lot better than a Panzer II. A Panzer II is only a 3-man tank. And Stewart's a good tank in the desert. Okay, that one's done. See if we can pick out some details on this one here. Yeah, one of the people that was doing the estate sale at the show actually had some 15 millimeter figures. I didn't even look at them. Like, I'm not painting 15s for a little while, and I've already got what I'm interested in next. They had some ancient Spanish or something like that. I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that, but I got plenty of stuff that I already have to do. Ancients and medieval gaming. I don't need any more of it. Not too worried about picking up the details on this stuff because it's just going to get covered up by weathering. I mean, the Germans wouldn't have come up with super tanks like Panther, Tigers. If they had stopped at a Mark IV-J, nobody'd be complaining about U.S. tanks. There's absolutely nothing wrong with these things. How the Huns coming along? They're done. I mean, I didn't get a chance to finish the camp, but we're done with the Huns. Finito. The other versions of the Huns will just have to wait. I'm not in a hurry to do them. This is the stuff I wanted to work on while I was trying to finish the Huns. I didn't let myself do this. So guess what? Now I'm letting myself do this. I don't think I'll be painting any 15 mils the rest of the year. I mean, it doesn't seem like that. It's not that long a time. We're in October. It's 2 months. So we're gonna do vehicles till I get tired of doing vehicles. Uh-oh. Had a really good turnout at the convention in Tampa. Really good turnout. Well, really good for us. I don't think we had any less than 10 players in any event. Which, considering how many events we had, that's a pretty good turnout. Okay, I think we're pretty much done tinkering with them. We got details that we got to paint on there. Decals. All right, well, we know we're gonna put. We gotta seal certain parts of this. I gotta remember how I did this. I think I can't remember if I gloss coated everything or I used the future on certain things. I just put the future on it and then gloss coated the whole thing after that. All right, so let's paint the details on here on both of these. You put the future just on those little places. All right. And I don't think I'm going to use the palette for anything, any of this stuff. The wet palette just takes up too much space. Stuff that we need to do in black. Let's get one that's a little bit more. Easier to use. Well, I know before the convention I was talking about getting some Victorian stuff. I don't think I'm going to do that anytime soon. I got enough with World War II and DBA to keep me busy. I don't need to go getting in another period that I don't have anything of. I don't want to do it badly enough. Let's put it that way. Just like I'm not really in a hurry to film more DBA stuff. I'm not saying I'm not going to film more DBA stuff. I'm just not in a hurry to do it. You guys have hundreds of videos on that. What I like about this is that I do one thing and it's finished. Not like, and you could do something with it potentially. Paint this cable. You're going to come in and dry brush it later. that's why I powered through and got those Huns done so I could work on this now. I'm glad that storm didn't shift by a week or wouldn't have had a convention. The White Huns did better than I would expect them to do in an open tournament format. Which means actually won a game. They actually went 2-4. They would have won more if my light horse had freaking stood up to anything, but they were extremely flighty. But no surprise there. They can't be counted on to do much. And it's not like anybody had a cakewalk with them. They just ended up being on the losing end of stuff. Which, you know, the other guy's trying to win too. So I always like to say, you know, the other guy's trying to win also. You know, for being a die-cast thing, this thing's pretty well detailed. It's a couple breaker bars or something here. I don't know what color this is supposed to be. We're going to paint them black. What else we got on here? Okay. If I don't make a concerted effort to knock some of these guys out, I'm never going to do them, so this is kind of my focus right now. Let me look up one thing while I'm thinking about it. Man, they make 1/35th scale stuff they didn't make 20 years ago. Not that I'm going to get into that. I'm never doing that again. A model that you can't do anything with. Okay, that's how we're going to do that. Okay, we need to... Where's that brush I was using? Here we go. The end of these cables, we'll make them in cable color. It's the center part that we're going to leave an olive drab. My Hungarians did really well. They went 2-1 event and should have won the last one, and went 2-1 event another one and should have won the last one. So I didn't use the War Wagon option. They kept me pipped fluid. Okay, that part's good. That part's good. I guess we have this tool that's sitting here over the side, molded on there. This stuff's easy to do. If you forget something, just go back and fix it. Some of you guys have the day off, or you just screwing around from home when you should be working. I think that's it. I don't know what to do with the 50. Does the 50 get painted, or is that all gunmetal? I hope it's not painted. Let's see if I can find a model and see what somebody's. Well, diecast, that's not going to help me out any. I think it's all gunmetal. If I had an ammo box, I'm gonna put not all gunmetal. F it. Which of course means paint it black first. At least that's what it means to me. I've seen people do it in gray, and I don't mind doing the metallic. And of course, the ammo box is still olive drab, so we'll leave it as is. Okay. Be right back. Okay. Well, I forgot about one thing about doing this on a work day. There's transom light 30. So in about 30 minutes, I have to sign off. Because Iron Warriors. Somehow I ended up with 2 bottles. That works better. I need to talk to my producer about that. It's your turn to watch me. One lucky person. got here? I did most of this painting on the other tank without being online. I didn't want to get everybody here and then get disconnected. I wouldn't want somebody doing that to me. Disconnected due to the glitchy connection. I'm pretty happy with that. Got some wooden stuff to do there. Got an axe handle. Handle to a mallet. Handle to a shovel. We got the box to paint. Coax. Coaxial machine gun. Well, been on here almost 3 hours. One lucky viewer. Let's do the tarps on these two. Well, we got to do the wooden handles. Yeah, I don't feel like pulling out the wet palette. Just do those few things. So let's get this beige brown should work fine with the handles of these tool handles. Black's already here. We do need to get a better brush on that one. This one should be good. And that'll be about time to take a break. Just in time for that light to come in here, and I see a little bit of it on the wall there. All right, we don't have any them there. All right, let's. We got some here. I feel like the screw helps immensely. And you could just break it off when you're done. not flip to the other vehicle. Let's just stay on this vehicle. Like I said, one of the least favorite things I like to do is pick things up and put things down. So just keeping this in my hand is the way I like to go about it till I'm done. And we'll go ahead and do the box too before we move back to them 4A1. Also known as the other Sherman, the cast hole Sherman. These things, when I picked them up at the toy store, I don't think they were $5. They might have been $5, but that's money well spent. I'm getting a lot of enjoyment, entertainment out of $5. A whole lot. The only thing about this process I was kind of surprised at it, was that those decals, man, I thought Germans were supposed to be like precise and shit. Good morning, just been watching Tuesday's videos, surprised to catch you live. Yep. I am not at work today. But those decals, those petting house decals suck. They have a lot of the decal on there. I think the paper is just too thick. Use microsol and everything, but you could tell if it's there at an angle. Whatever. They're wargaming models. Yeah, I'm not at work today, and I thought there'd be more people. I thought there'd be more of you slackers around. Working from home and stuff. Especially on a Friday. TGIF, baby. Oh, we got lots of wooden parts here. And like I said, we'll be on here until this transom light makes it where I can't work. Then we'll take about an hour break or something like that. I would have been online yesterday, but I want to get everybody here and then have to leave. And then just got disconnected because we did have some gusts. There's no gusts today. We lost power for about an hour. 8 o'clock in the morning. 55 minutes, something like that. Zero rain. That's crazy. Most places got too much rain. So I painted most of the day yesterday, which is why I got that tank finished. I would love to be able to work from home and have some painting idiot in the background. That looks like it'd be fun. It sounds like it'd be fun. If this storm would have been off by a week, we wouldn't have a show. Wouldn't have had a show last weekend. That would have sucked for multiple reasons. All right, we got tarps to do on here and boxes on that one. All right, let's put that metal color away. And then when we're done with that, we'll paint the spots that are going to get decals, as you people across the pond like to call them. And they very well could be called that. I've just never heard anybody ever call them that. Decals. All right, there's an opportunity to do some more greenish colored things, because this thing isn't very deep green. Not using a wet palette just for this little bit. Just take up too much space. Working on these tanks just takes up a lot more space than other stuff. Then maybe I'm done with these trees, these three. Maybe we'll do a Nazi bastard tank next. Or a vehicle, I should say. I think the Stug 4 is calling to me. This ugly bastard. With Zimmerant. It's super dusty. Actually got quite a bit of detail on it. It's just kind of rough. You can solve that Dunkelgelb good. I'll use the colors they recommend and then put my own spin on it, I'm sure. All right, we need more black. It's funny, the part that I enjoy painting the most of this isn't these little bits. It's the dry brushing of the overall color. Because I don't get to do any of that when I'm doing my DBA armies. Nothing like that. Lots of rain and wind here in Scotland, thanks to jet stream bringing up us the remnants of Fiona. That's a storm named Fiona, huh? I just can't believe we didn't get any rain. That's just unbelievable. I've never seen that happen. And we rarely get wind here at all, of any kind. We're just landlocked. That part's not unusual. I'm about to paint me a Normandy backdrop at some point. I don't have anything that's specifically Normandy. Well, some rolling hills and stuff. It doesn't have to have hedgerows and stuff like that. Jeez, it dried already? There we go. So we're going to be hobbying about most of today. Can't really go game with you-know-who for multiple reasons. First of all, he works the wrong days. He's off at the beginning of the week. I got enough gaming this last weekend anyways. Man, I feel like I need to go up even higher than that. There we go. Box for your troubles. Oh, here comes the transom light. Let's hurry up and do this while we can. I think we used field drab for the other box. Turned out pretty well. Five silent viewers. Welcome, folks. I'm gonna have to cut off soon because I can't work without lights coming through here. It only lasts for about an hour or so. We'll be back on. Crap, I forgot a tool on the back here. Oh well. And too much stuff on here. What, are you supposed to like live out of these things? Yep. All right, I bet we don't have a white that's alive at this point. No. Yeah, I can't even tell the right color on these things. Guess I might as well paint this thing on the back. It's not going to paint itself. All right, let's get these decals. See what we're dealing with here, size-wise. Now we're going to put a round one on the front here. I think it's going to be one of those. Where's let's make sure we got a fresh knife. Now, before I do any of that, I need to point out the spots they're going to have, where that's going to go. Because it's almost time to cut out because of this damn light. I just opened this. Yeah, that'll work. No. Yep. All right. So. put something there. And I need my glasses here. I should just, let's see if I can find an M4A3. I'm sure I can. I had the star up towards the front. A lot of pictures of tanks in Italy. That there's some freedom of. That's the thing about hate about those Tufts. They come in these containers that are super slippery. If you even start budging them, they just slide all over the place. All right. Put it up here. And up here. And we're going to put a star on the back. I saw that one time. We're going to put, this one's going to have a star on the back. Okay, and the turret for this guy. Turret there. And here. We'll let this dry. Okay. Just for good measure, I'm going to go around the bottom too. Because I got to bend that star across there. Now this guy, we won't put anything on the front there. We won't put anything on the back. Put one there.